Should you watch The Curse? I guess it depends. Do you know who Nathan Fielder is? He's that guy right there in the middle who has his hand on Emma Stone's shoulder. It's kind of awkward, isn't it? Uh, anyway, he's like a actor, comic, uh, weirdo person. um, it's perhaps an acquired taste, but he's done like his show Nathan for You, which is like a comedy show on Comedy Central a while back, where he goes to different businesses and gives them a cool new business plan to improve their business, and it's usually like weird and novel, funny idea that and hijinks ensue, and it's awkward, and he has like some dry humor in there, and it's pretty fun. It's a fun watch for me and for fans of his work. But it's not for everybody, so maybe check that out first to see what that's about, and then maybe even watch his HBO show, The Rehearsal, in which he basically he like has these clients that like want a secret. They have a secret, and they want to tell the secret to a loved one or a friend. And so what Nathan offers in that show is a rehearsal of delivering that secret. So he gets these people to like he like sets up a set. Like I think the first episode is like a bar. To like, okay, and the idea is that the client's going to go to the bar with a friend and tell them the secret at that point. And so he recreates the bar. He recreates the situation. He hires actors to pretend to be the friend, and the client just like rehearses and tries to get it right. And it goes on and actually morphs into a different kind of show in which Nathan is rehearsing being a father and having a family life. And so it gets a little weird, and it's an evolution of his show Nathan for You, for sure. So maybe watch that to see if you like it, or jump on into The Curse episode 1 at least and see what that's about. Because this one is a little bit more stylistically different, thanks to the Safdie brothers here. Really, it's just this one Safdie brother, Benny Safdie, who is the guy with the hair and beard, holding a camera, I believe, on his shoulder, on the right there. He's involved. He's a part co-creator, right? He's a writer on this. I think he probably wrote direct some episodes. He's one of the Safdie brothers who you may know from Good Times, that movie with Robert Pattinson. Righteous Gems, you know that movie, right? With Adam Sandler. That hectic, nerve-wracking movie that like flies like a speeding bullet and fills you with anxiety. So it's that kind of, it's like that kind of almost mockumentary style, and really it's about Nathan and Emma Stone's character, who, guess what? Emma Stone's in this TV show. She's been in TV before, right? She did that Maniac show on Netflix a while back, but she's been known as a movie star, right? She won an Oscar for that musical movie. What's it called? What's it called again? That Hollywood movie she was in, where she like sings. It's a musical. It has Ryan Gosling in it, right? La La Land. La La Land, that's what it is. She was in La La Land, yo. She was a super bad. She has some comedy roots too. Super bad and Easy A, other comedy stuff. So she takes her acting chops from comedy and drama into this show, and it kind of elevates this as a more prestige show now, right? We got Safdie, we got Fielder, and we got Stone. What a trio, right? And it works. I think it works. It's working out. It's definitely all these three here do offer that cringy, awkward persona. They have that in them, and it really permeates throughout and really makes you feel a little bit off, but in an intriguing way, right? But it's also a satire, commentary on the well-to-do liberals who really gentrifiers who want to do good in the world, right? Or they seemingly outwardly say so, but they're kind of just selfish in the end, and they're not really that aware of their actions and their consequences. And so it's a dark comedy in that way, but definitely from that perspective, it doesn't quite. It gives you, characters, and especially in episode 2, who are on the other side. The natives, indigenous population that lives in this town, which Asher, Nathan's character, and Whitney, Emma Stone's character, are trying to improve this town, right? Española. They come in here with their artsy house project, eco-friendly housing they want to build, right? To improve the community and to bring in new people to come in and enrich the community at Española, right? Of course, they're doing it for their own benefit, and so it's that kind of commentary, and it's well done. It's weird, it's awkward. It goes there. It goes places you don't expect. There is sometimes some graphic nudity. There's awkward moments, but I think it's well done so far. 2 episodes in, I'm on board. I imagine it's going to get wilder from here, but that's the gist of it. Let's get into episode 1. So if you're interested, check it out. If not, and don't care about spoilers, let's take a look. We'll see how this works out, because I might have to skip past some of the more risque scenes, right? Well, I don't know what's gonna happen. So it's a Showtime show, by the way. You can watch it on Showtime. I think on Paramount Plus is the streaming service you can use. All right, so episode 1, folks. We're gonna go through episode 1. We're gonna put on that spoiler tag, final warning. If you haven't seen it or don't care, whatever. Here we go. Episode 1 of The Curse. We start off here with this interview of this fellow here who is looking for work, and because the idea is here that this married couple here, Emma and Nathan, Whitney and Asher, are their character names. They want to improve the community, and they want to show that, like, hey, we're doing well. Yeah, we're bringing in our fancy houses in here, and we want to get the rich to buy them and stuff and live there. But we also want to give back, and so what they're doing is they're going to offer a job to this struggling this man who can't quite find work, and is at risk of being evicted because of the rent increase, because of, again, gentrification, which they themselves are part of, and so they're getting him a job at the coffee shop, so he could keep. And I think they're also subsidizing the rent here. Apparently, the people who buy these fancy houses are part of that money is going towards subsidizing the rent of the locals. So a band-aid move there. But of course, the scummy producer of this reality show, because they're they're making this reality show for, guess what, HGTV. Yeah. And so he wants to bring in some more motion, so he basically forces this the mother of this guy to cry by putting some water droplets in her eye, down her eyes. And it's pretty scummy, it's pretty shitty. Emma calls it out, but she goes along with it, because what could you do at this point, right? And and this guy, I think his name is what, Dougie? Dougie is the name of the producer fella. Is a friend of Asher here, Nathan's character. So it's almost like he tolerates them because of that, right? It's like he's a supposedly big time producer, right? Who gets things made. So we got to deal with some of the exploitation a little bit, right? To get our project off the ground for the betterment of Española. I like how they switch over to a different aspect ratio here, because this actually looks like a TV show now. This looks like a TV show you would see on HGTV, for example. And by the way, this is on Showtime, but I'm pretty sure they probably pitched this to HBO. Because Nathan had a show on HBO. And I imagine Saslov and some other executives are like, let's not make this show at HBO, because Discovery, the owner of HBO, also owns HGTV, right? They also have all these reality shows, these shitty reality shows, and they don't want to poke fun of themselves. It's a little bit too close to home, right? So Showtime picked it up. I guess they're explaining the benefits of this eco-friendly house here, the airflow and stuff. It's pretty funny stuff too. And then we just got the producer Nathan kind of just discussing the whole situation. And here we have the coffee shop. Here's the TV spot. They're getting an interview here to promote the idea that, hey, we're actually hiring locals for this coffee shop. So guess what? We're the good guys. And it's a really good scene. Nathan actually shows off some good acting skills. Emma, of course, she's great. We already know that. But Nathan actually does some good stuff here. He gets pretty angry here once the TV reporter brings up the idea that the fact that Emma's, okay, let's call her Whitney. Whitney's parents are actually these big old landlords, real estate people, or I guess landlords, who are pretty ruthless and and evict their renters without care in the world, without care, just to get off, just to get rich, and of course they want to distance themselves from that. And Nathan's like, Asher's like, let's not talk about that. We're here to talk about this thing. And of course, Winnie handles it a little better, but she's visibly uncomfortable. But Asher, he's got a short fuse, right? And they get into an argument there, and apparently these workers, they're not all local, some of them are actually hired actors, it seems, right? So, and this guy's like, oh, that's just temporary. But we already see there that, like, yeah, they're not really doing that great for the community, right? And now, I guess the idea is that, like, when he's like, hey, you should tell them about your casino story. That's a better story. That way, that interview we just had, which just went disastrous, won't air, right? Because they don't want that to air, because that makes them look bad, because they are pretty bad. And so he's gonna try to do that. Try to get a meeting with the news network. But in the meantime, before he gets to talk to her, this is the maybe the inciting incident for the whole show, right? Where a curse is coming. What kind of curse? Well, they want to get some footage of Asher being a good guy here. See, look, he's buying some soda from this impoverished child, right? And this now we're like more towards like this a segment that you might see in one of Nathan's shows, right? He only has 100. He gives her 100. He takes it back. He's like, I'll get some change to the ATM and give you 20, I promise. But it's really weird. I mean, a guy, this who like, I'm sure he can afford to give away 100, but he's a stickler, and he doesn't want to pay 100 for a 6-pack of sodas, right? And now we got a situation here where a friendly local wants to help him out. Is he friendly? I don't know, but he asked for the pin to help him out. And honestly, in this situation, like anybody would be like, I don't know if I should give you my pin. He later on he calls the bank to redo his pin, but yeah, it feels a little bit sketchy. But he gets the money, and the girl and his father and her sister are gone. So he missed opportunity, and whatever. The kid was like, I cursed you. Whatever. Let's forget about that for now. Of course, Asher doesn't take it seriously. He's not superstitious, and he doesn't really think that there's going to be any consequence for what he did, because he's a little bit arrogant like that. But yeah, so then we go to the meeting in a bit, once I can get there. This is a little bit slow again, like I said. And this is actually an example of how I would prefer more shows to do, if they're going to do product placement, integrate it, in a more realistic way, not too showy way, not a way that distracts. I complained about this situation in Loki, where we had a pivotal moment with a character at a McDonald's, and it was very prominent in the background, and it showed off McDonald's as a happy place for Sylvie, for her character, and it was like blatant, it was a bit crass, and very distracting product placement, and kind of incongruent with the idea of the show, of this character who was like more of an anarchic character. But here, we know it's a Subway. He mentions it's a Subway. We do see a Subway sign at one point, but it's not like a prominent thing where this could be any restaurant, really, right? You don't really see the signage too much. But he discusses the idea of like giving her a better story about the predatory practices of the casino he used to work at, and maybe she'll bite, so he has to get some more evidence. So that's the start of that little story beat. And now we're to probably one of the most cringy sequences in the episode, right? It's time to meet the family. Time to meet Whitney's parents. So these are the I guess maybe slumlords. I don't know. They're like, we're not quite sure what kind of apartment buildings they run, but they're the example of like the landlords who live their happy life apart, away, I think even in a different city from the buildings they supposedly manage and own. And while they relax out here in their tomato farmhouse, they're relying on their renters to support them, right? And without a care in the world, right? And just like a nice little sequence, family dinner, and here we have the moment where the father-in-law is like, "Hey, you like those tomatoes? I water them with my urine. No big deal." I mean, it is a little weird. I guess, like, technically, I mean, a lot of crops, right? When you grow vegetables, a lot of to fertilize the soil. A lot of farms and farmers, they use manure. That's a way to fertilize it. Natural products like manure, and other things. So it's not too out there, but also not necessary to do, right? You don't really need to piss on your on your soil to get a good tomato, bunch of tomatoes to grow, right? You don't really need that, but it's almost like a power move, It's like, yeah, I piss on my soil where those tomatoes grow, and you're eating them. And this whole sequence is the idea of like, okay, I know that you're a man with a small penis. That's the joke here. The joke here, which we see earlier, which I did scroll past. We have a scene where Nathan is in the bathroom, pissing, and we have a close up of his penis actually, and it's not the biggest you've seen, and it's supposed to be like, at first when I first saw that scene, is a bit shocking, right? It's like, oh wow, okay, why are we seeing this? But it makes sense in the context of the sequence, in which we now know that, yeah, Nathan is one of the types of guys with a small penis who's compensating for that, right? And the father-in-law is on his side. He's like, I'm also a guy with a small penis, and it's okay. Sometimes that's good for a marriage. It's fine. It's okay, and you can still do great things. You don't have to be defined by that. And of course, Nathan is like not really acknowledging the fact that he has a small penis, and is kind of curious too. I'm sure in his head, it's like, wait, how does he know that? How does he know that? Has he been spying on me? It's like, it's a small dick joke, prolonged in an awkward sequence, and in a way, small penis jokes are a bit tired, but with, because it was so bold the way they introduced it, and just the execution of it, I guess I kind of give it a pass. It's like, okay, you're doing something a little different here. But it does give us an insight on the type of character he is, right? And of course, here's the discussion of like, hey, did you tell them about my penis size? And Whitney's just like, hey, I was just discussing how we were trying to have kids, because they are trying to have kids. And I guess it must have came up. It's a bit weird, No one really does that, right? Maybe they do. Who really discusses the details of your partner's anatomy with their parents? I haven't. Maybe you do. I don't know. Let me know in the chats if you do. But he of course is a little bit upset about that, and he has this little joke here where he tries to force feed her a imaginary tomato, I think, which I think is a little awkward joke there. Also a bit of a foreshadowing for potential for next episode's driving incident. there's a little bit of a moment there where like he almost swerves, and you think, oh, are they gonna crash? No, they don't. They don't crash. And now they're back at their place. And we get like an interesting shot here because we see Whitney in the background there. This is, of course, the sex scene that comes up. Let's rewind a little bit. But you know, she's getting a bit, she's feeling a bit horny, right? And so, and he's like picking up on that, and they're like, okay, let's get to it. But first, he realizes there's no chicken in his frozen meal, right? I assume they're not big into cooking, so they have a bunch of ready-to-made meals, right? And he has to call and complain. It is a bit awkward to get to order some food and not get what you ordered, right? You know, it's not ideal. But he's the type to call right away almost, right? I think he calls in the next scene or something to like, hey, where's my chicken and my chicken parma? And then we get this to another awkward scene, and the kind of sex they have is of course a running. It's a continuation of that small dick joke, right? Because they don't really have penetrative sex because, with him involved as the penetration, because he probably can't quite satisfy her. So they use a vibrator dildo or something, right? And you know, it goes on a little long, but whatever. It gets you an idea of like the idea of their sex life and their intimate life, and like how they you know, enjoy themselves. Gives you an idea of their dynamic there, right? Which I think, you know, it is an essential part of the relationship, right? Of any relationship, how one gets intimate, and also the fact that, you know, they're trying to have a baby, right? So that's part of it, you know. They didn't really go into detail of into further detail on insemination or anything, but we get the idea that that's how it starts, and then, you know, you can imagine the rest. But it is part of their character building. So now we have a little editing session here with the producer, and we get through. Well, first, before that, we get a little example of what Dougie used to, you know, what the kind of work he does, right, and the kind of stuff he wants to make. And this show he made didn't really get picked up for, I guess, obvious reasons, but it's kind of a take on dating shows, right? The popularity of dating shows, in which something like Love is Blind or something, where like the contestants don't quite know how the significant, like the person they're gonna marry or whatever, or date looks like, and it's just based on personality. Turns out, you know, so it's kind of a send up on that, and it's a pretty funny little segment here. Turns out the mystery man is actually a burnt victim. And so obviously that's probably gonna dissuade a bunch of dissuade the potential wife at the altar, right? When he reveals that, oh, my face is burnt, and you know, it goes to show the exploitative nature of reality TV in that way. But after that, we get to reveal that, hey, they recorded him taking back that $100 bill, and this is the big wedge in the relationship between Whitney and Asher here, right? He doesn't take it too seriously. She actually takes it seriously. Like, hey, that kid just cursed you because you took the freaking money back. Why'd you do that? He doesn't think it's a big deal, and actually, he's like, "What, are you dumb or something?" Which of course she gets offended. Some people are more superstitious, and it's not a nice thing to call someone dumb for that, right? And so, especially you're someone you're married to or engaged to, right? So she's like, "Hey, you gotta go out there and give that money back and find that little girl." And the doting husband that he is, he's like, "Okay, I'll do that." He does that in his own way, right? He tries to find them, but isn't gonna spend the whole night. Isn't gonna spend that much effort. And goes to the homeless shelter. It's a bit revealing here too that they say they're closed for the night because they don't have enough funding, which is a common thing, and so they can't house people every night. He even asks for a donation. He doesn't even bother to give them a donation, and he just hands over the $100 bill to a mother with a baby, in the tent there, and goes back and pretends that he actually gave it to the actual family from earlier. We got Whitney here doing some voiceovers for the the reality show they're making, and we get a little bit more into this Dougie character. Like, yeah, he's an asshole, scummy guy, but he's also obviously probably a typical scummy misogynist guy who likely has harassed some of the women in his productions, right? Like, he basically, it's like a subtle thing, like, oh, like, a bunch of people who watch this are really gonna want to be with you, he says to her, making her feel really uncomfortable. The kind of thing that, like, producers would say. I can imagine very easily that is, like, not explicitly harassment, but pretty much like bringing up the dividing line between her and Asher, right? Like, you're successful because you're an attractive woman, and play into the idea of being an attractive woman and being a fantasy for our viewers, some scummy, like, worldview or viewpoint for the producer to say out loud there, and if you were in that position, you definitely wouldn't really want to be working with this kind of producer, right? And she wants to be seen as, like, more than just a pretty face. She wants to be seen as an artist, really, and someone, an architect, whatever, home designer, whatever, that wants to better society, improve society and improve the world with her eco-friendly stuff. That's the image she wants to provide, and that producer's like, bring her down, like, no, you're just kind of like there as eye candy, really. It's just a silly reality show. And here we get, like, an interesting little viewpoint here as he comes back. He's like, I did it. I gave the $100 back to that family, and it looks like someone peering through a peephole across the hallway, spying on them. Who could that be? I don't know. We don't know. But he looks into the camera, which is a little bit interesting, right? Does he notice someone watching? Is it just a random fourth wall break? Maybe we'll find out that someone was spying on them in in a future episode? Could be. Could be. Look at that. Just look straight at the camera there. Could be another character that we haven't yet seen. That's to be found out, right? In the future. So that was episode 1. Episode 1 was interesting, right? Gives you an idea of like what the show's about, the tone of it, and got me interested. And then episode 2 goes even further. Let's go to episode 2. Paramount Plus. Let's have the subtitles on, by the way. Let's just keep them on right now. Previously on, we've seen that. We know what's going on here. The opening shot, a pregnancy test. So now we know it says she's pregnant. So we know that, they've been trying. And it looks like we're gonna get a happy family, right? And now that any new father who's in a position, it's like, okay, I got a kid coming. I gotta really buckle up, and I gotta make some good moolah. I gotta support the family, etc., etc. So it gives the character more of an incentive to like actually succeed in his goals to like make this reality show a success, and get that interview out of the way, right? Get that interview hidden. And so here we have him meeting up with the TV reporter, and apparently he doesn't have enough evidence. Like, okay, it's a cool story and all, but we need some evidence of the casino's wrongdoing. So he's like, he's like, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna get the footage. I'm gonna get the footage he has, or the files or something, of the casino exploiting and the like addicts, gambling addicts and stuff. And now we have another sequence that could have been pulled off similarly in one of Nathan's earlier shows, right? He goes back to the casino. He's like, hey, that lighting idea I had, it worked out, right? They actually tweaked it a little bit, but they kind of pretty much took his idea of adjusting the lighting to a cooler setting, to keep the gamblers at the casino floor and to continue to play the games, right? Because the idea here is that as the night falls, as the sun falls, the lighting is adjusted so it seems like to mimic the sunrise, to mimic the sun being still out, to influence your circadian rhythm to actually be alert and to continue to play the game. And he actually mentions too that one of these players here has this little bracelet that makes it so he doesn't have to go back to the ATM to refill his funds. He can just keep on gambling all night without having to withdraw some money. And the guy's like, oh well, he's older, right? It's good for him. At his age, you don't want him to keep getting up and walking to the ATM machine. So just another example of like them exploiting, taking advantage of the elderly and in general, just players at the casino, to get as much money from them as possible. And that was just an introductory scene, right? Because he's gonna have to go back. It was a little awkward moment there. He was like, okay, yeah, see you later. Okay, see ya. But in his head, he's like, okay, how do I get back in? How do I get myself into the employees only area? How do I get to the computer and find that file I need. We will be seeing that soon, but first we get a look at what Whitney's up to, and we get a fun actor here. I actually was recently been catching up on Reservation Dogs, by the way. A fun show about, you know, indigenous and natives in the U.S. From Native Voices, which is pretty cool. And Gary Farmer here, this guy on the right, he's in it. So good to see him. Good to see him again. He's a fun guy. But here, Whitney is trying to convince him. I think he's one of the leaders here, one of the leaders of the community, and he wants them to go to a show, an art show of a friend of hers who's gonna help her give some clout to her project. It's all manipulation for her to get on top, right? So there's some interesting exchange here of, like, you know, the insensitive white liberal who is trying to get some points for working with the community here, with the indigenous community, and for her sake, and not really doing too much in return, she gets a nice photo op here. But this guy here, he seems that he does see that there's probably some benefit, some potential here to help the community, but also, like, maybe he just wants to go to a cool art show. It's like, well, maybe you're harmless, and maybe I can go to a cool art show in exchange for this. We'll see how it develops in the future, but it's a pretty funny scene. And just another example of, like, of what the show is really kind of, you know, the underlying theme of the show, like, just well-to-do liberals that don't really care like they should, right? And they're just, it's all about appearance, you know, it's all about appearing to be helpful, appearing to be woke and stuff, all that stuff. Here we get, like, her deleting a comment on her social feed, criticizing her house, right? The house she's making. And it kind of goes to show, like, hey, this is it kind of reminds you, like, oh, this is a modern show, right? Like, you would never see this in a show from 10 years ago, right? Like, I like how they're integrating social media into this show, right? But yeah, she deletes a comment that compares her house, her work, whatever, to another artist, Doug Aitken, you know, which comes up a little later. But just so you're aware, I mean, I wasn't really aware of Doug. I'm not in the know. But of course, I'm not making reflective housing like she is. But so this guy, he's done a bunch of different artwork, but let me bring up this right here. So that's Doug Aitken's Mirrored Mirage, you know. So yeah, it looks very similar to what the house she's making, but the thing is that his is just like an art installation, really. Like, it was only this house was only up there for like a couple months or something, I don't know, and then it was taken down. It wasn't really meant to be a permanent housing for anybody. Yeah, I was up there just for some months there. So yeah, so basically people are comparing it to that right there. Back to the show. And they're just waiting to get seated, right, for their little meeting with the artist that she wants to be friends with, because she wants to have some clout here. She wants to have someone who who represents an authentic, indigenous community to be on her side, to support her work, so she can, benefit from that. And Asher here is going all in right away, trying to sell the idea. But Whitney's a little bit, has a little more tact. She's like, hey, calm down. We're just having dinner here. Let's not go in on business all the way right away. And so, this scene kind of just demonstrates the dynamic and the divide between the two, this couple, right? At the end of the day, though, they're still similar in the sense that, like, they're outsiders trying to get in and trying to relate, but are inauthentic and are just out for themselves, really. And it's like, it kind of feels like an awkward socialization that they're going through, but really, everyone sees them for who they are, which is just silly rich people who don't really care about the community, right? But Whitney's trying. She's trying to at least her best to look like she cares, right? And she seems to have a better tactics than the more assertive Nathan here. So they get a little bit of a fight here. But then I think this is the moment that she reveals, oh, guess what? I'm pregnant. So it's kind of like this scene. I think this little moment here was the most contrived. A little bit melodramatic scene that kind of just got pulled out of any old typical show about a young couple getting pregnant, right? So maybe that was the point. I was like, oh yeah, now it's a little happy romance. We're pregnant, oh yeah. Which transitions to another dinner scene that is a little bit abrupt in the sense that, like, usually you would have a little calming scene or moment between two long awkward or too long anxiety-inducing conversation pieces. You would have like a transitional scene or something. But no, we go right away into to Dougie and on his date to explore his character, and it actually works out. This scene, like it still kept me interested because he's like talking nonsense almost, right? And it's the kind of thing that, like, some a dude like him would say in like dates like this. Like I'm sure you may know someone like this who talks about like nonsense with like this authority, like as he knows everything. It's like pompous authority, and as if he knows science, as if he knows biology and stuff. And maybe some of it, what he's saying is true, and that's part of his personality, part of the type of person he is. He may have some truth tidbits in there, but we get a really good idea of like the kind of issues he's dealing with, and the emotional baggage that he's been carrying, which is the fact that he killed someone while he was driving drunk, right? So makes excuses up. He's like, oh no, like I was just barely over the limit. I I peed out the most of the toxins anyways, etc., etc. And she actually is kind of bringing up hey, you're still hold some responsibility there. I think he kind of like changed the subject a little bit here. And then we go to the car sequence, but now we know the story. We know his story now. We know that he has issues with drinking. We know that he killed somebody because of his drunk driving. And now we cut to, let's drive you home. She's like, no, I'll just wait for the Uber. He's like, nah, it's not that far. I can drive you. He like touches his nose. He's like, look, I'm fine. I'm not drunk. And she goes along, And he was like, oh shit, this is like one of the most intense sequences thus far. And because we're thinking, shit, she's gonna die. Like, I was thinking she's gonna die. He's gonna, it's gonna be a repeat, of the story he told. And that's what Safdie and Fielder want you to think, right? That's the idea here, to get you all tensed up, like, oh shit. He even has to use the breathalyzer right there while he's driving. But he pulls over. Whew. Crisis averted, right? They actually, and funny enough, she's like, oh, I'm glad you did that. Most guys would have kept going. And so she actually finds that attractive in him now, which is a bit odd. It kind of shows like, hey, like maybe this woman here isn't the best judge of character, and it happens sometimes where these like skeezy guys, bad boy guys, bad men, show some good in them, or some modesty of good, a modicum of good quality that impresses them, because maybe they're used to a bunch of asshole guys too, right? So in her eyes, he's above the other asshole men she's probably dated, right? And that's how a lot of these guys can be successful in dating at times, right? So, and that's it, tension has gone. No one died. It's all good, So that was an effective suspenseful scene, right? And we definitely got it illustrated who this Dougie character is, really. Now we know a lot more of his background, and like what drives him, what keeps him up at night. Even the funny line he even says, he's like, he even admits, like, I think about the idea of like what I could have done, it keeps me up at night. And he says he thinks about it all the time, like it's all he thinks about, which is a bit, very distressing. The idea of like, shit, like imagine if that happened to you, So it gives you some empathy for him, which I think is a good thing for characters, even villainous, awful characters in shows or movies, right? It's like it makes you a lot more interested in their character arc, and even the scummiest of dudes, like, or people of characters. It's good to like give them some balance, give them something to work with, something to improve, something to get better at, because at the end of the day, like, even people who do bad things, it's good that they are held to account. But if we do want to improve the world, we have to rehabilitate them, right? We have to make sure, we have to help people, correct their mistakes and become better people. So maybe this guy at the end of this season will be redeemed. Maybe not. But now we get to maybe, one of the highlights of this episode. I guess Nathan's big moment in this episode. He's back at the casino, this time with the new scheme. He wants to get hired again, because how else is he gonna get access to computers, right? To get that file he needs for the TV reporter, so he can get that story out, and instead of having that interview be aired, disastrous interview from episode 1. So again, like a scene that you would see like in Nathan For You, he's pitching this idea, and like it's even filmed almost like a reality show here. I think he's pitching the idea of like a children's playground or something for the kids to play at while the parents spend their money on gambling and stuff. And I guess the owner here is like, we'll think about it. And he's trying to like demonstrate, hey, look, I had some good ideas. I had good ideas with the lighting, use that, and like, basically he wants to get hired as someone, either as a consultant or whatever, for the playground area for the kids, or to do something for the casino to help out, right? Like, look, I'm good. I have good ideas. And it ends with this little scene here of him looking at this comic book strip, which actually I didn't mean to look up to see if this is actually a real comic book strip, but it looks like it could be. But it's basically saying that like it took like 400 years or something. It took us hundreds of years to figure out how to get back at these people, right? At the white man, at the white devil. I don't think it says white devil, but get back at them. The idea that like these Native Americans here are running the casino in order to get the money out of the white people's gambling habits, get the money out of them via gambling, via them just emptying their pockets at the casino, right? So, which is an interesting take. It's certainly funny. And Nathan, Asher here is kind of like that white man in this situation, right? But he's trying to get on their side there and trying to like get something out of it. He's trying to gain some benefits for himself, for his future here now. Is he gonna succeed? He does quite a lot to get his way, right? In his own like schemey way, He's like a different type of colonizer, He's not like the overtly violent or overtly stepping on people. He's scheming in there with his like weird ideas, but he gets him in the door, gets him into the office like a wormy little rat, That's the type of colonizer he is, right? And he gets to the computer. It's kind of funny, like the idea of like, I'll show you this viral video on your computer because my phone's dying, and before that he's like, oh, guess what? My wife is pregnant, and that gets him, on the good side. It's a good technique, good idea, It's like it works out pretty well. It's believable. I believe that that's a good way to get into the computer system, right? His previous coworker's office here. And as soon as he takes out that Gatorade, we all know what's gonna happen. It's like, oh shit, another like TikTok moment, another like suspenseful moment, another bomb underneath the table, as Hitchcock would put it. A Gatorade on top of the table, right? We got an impending spill happening, and you're waiting for it, right? You're like, oh, when is he gonna spill it? And of course, he spills it at the moment that the woman in the viral video falls on her butt, right? He laughs, and it spills. And now we got a distraction. And he goes even further. You know, you think that's enough, right? That should be enough. He's gonna go maybe go get some towels to clean up, some paper towels or something, right? But then just to give you a little bit more of a look at the kind of character this Asher is, this guy is. He spills some Gatorade on top of his friend here, supposed friend. He's like, what the fuck? And you know, it's kind of like a little demon playing with somebody. You know, he's like playing with his food in a way. Spills it on them. He's like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, it's just a little bit of Gatorade, and he pours it on himself. He's like, see, look, you know, I'll pour it on myself. It's not a big deal. No biggie. I mean, I guess that's the way to diffuse the situation a little bit, right? It's like you pour something on somebody, they get mad. It's like, oh, pour it on yourself. No big deal. See, and that actually gets him to go, because he's like, oh, I'll go out there and help you clean up. But he's like, no, you stay here. You know, so it all worked out. Like, he had it all planned out, and like, you know, he took a lot of risks there, right? Like maybe he could have called someone else to bring in some towels or something. I don't know, like, but it worked out. And now he has to like hurry up. He like locks the door. He like takes his shirt off too, to look to get this files on here. And like, I thought the show would go even further. I thought he was gonna do a little like you know, like he was like looking up porn or something and masturbating or something. I don't know. I thought like something crazy like that was gonna happen. Like, he seemed like, what are you doing? Why is your shirt off? What's, you know, some weird thing there. But you know, it's fine. It just went up to there. And I guess he successfully got it. He accomplished his goal, and he got a shirt out of it, right? He got like from the casino shirt, right? And now he's come to kind of relax and reminisce a little bit about and share his success with his buddy here, right? And turns out the producer guy is not quite clear on whether the show is going to be picked up, how it's doing. He may be going to start another show, to work on another project, but it really seems that it seems to me that like the network isn't biting, and because he says the network hasn't called him in a while, it seems that like this show is not going to get picked up, and maybe he misled Asher and saying that, oh yeah, the network is interested, yeah, for sure, let's do it, and really it's like it's all for naught, and like they're just gonna record a bunch of shit, and then it's gonna come to head when Whitney finds out, and like, oh shit, like the network is even gonna want to run this show, and they did this for nothing, and they probably ruined their reputation. We'll see how it ends up. But he's just chilling here, and we'll see where that ends up. But now we know a little bit more about them, and now about both those characters, right? Each scene we get to know more. You know, it's not like each scene is like just a funny gag. Each scene is like building on, you know, on what makes these people tick. You know. And now we got a shot of Emma lost in the reflection there, warped up of her fancy house. And the irony of the fact that she wants to create something that's appealing to the people, that's like one with nature, that's like eco-friendly, and then a bird smashes into the side because it's it's a big old mirror, right? And of course the bird is gonna smash into the wall of the house. And she's like, I think she says like, oh, it's like the fifth bird or whatever. It's like it's happened multiple times. And I've seen even at my place, like sometimes birds just fly into windows because like it's just a reflection of the sun, and the glare like confuses them, and they fly into windows sometimes, and often like they don't die, they just bump in, and they fly away. But a big old mirror house like that. She also has a Greenpeace shirt on, by the way. Another their little moment of irony there. And she doesn't seem to really care that much about the bird. Just clean it up, whatever. She calls her assistant to clean it up, or one of her employees. And now we get to the art show, the big old art show. So this is like, one of those art shows at the MoMA, or any modern art museum or gallery. Very much authentic to that. I'm pretty sure they modeled it after some show they seen in real life. And this is the art show where that artist that Whitney wants to collaborate with is doing her show at. And it is an interesting scene, right? I guess these are some pieces from a baseball team or something that usually stereotypical and insensitive reappropriation of Native American totems here, right? But dressing them up as baseball teams, and like the point here is that the artist stole them all, and if the baseball teams were to acknowledge it by pressing charges, they would have to acknowledge that they made these racist things, right? So it's pretty interesting art, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a true art piece here. I did, I've known some artists. There was a friend of mine who actually did something similar. It wasn't quite about racism, but they stole a bunch of stuff from supermarkets, and that was part of their artwork. They like they did like an installation with like just different things like popcorn, different, like it was like a weird thing. But all the stuff they used in the art piece was stolen, and it was part of the piece. So it's definitely something that happens in the art world. Which I thought, which is really, I think it's great art. Any art that like steals from corporate or racist powers is a lot more potent, right? Art than typical stuff, right? And now we have the performance piece that is confusing Whitney here. She as a Native American woman, as an indigenous woman, is slicing up some turkey here in the tent here, or the teepee, really, and offering it to the white savior here, Whitney, who of course wants to be cool, wants to be in the cool crowd, wants to be acknowledged as an ally, and she takes a bite, without really thinking too much about it, or she thinks it's like part of the show, right? And we got the artist here screaming out, in pain, right? So it's you know, you can interpret this different ways, but it definitely seems like an attack on the white people come in, colonizing the land and the people, and celebrating Thanksgiving, you know, as a celebration, you know. I mean, that's the obvious connection, right? Turkey, while ignoring the suffering of the people, of the indigenous, right? And she's like, okay, it's interesting. She even asked, like, why did you do that? Why did you eat? Why did you partake in the violence of consuming this turkey here? And you know, and it's also kind of like she's acting like a server, right? She's serving up this turkey, you know, as opposed to, you know, sharing it in a communal way, you know, with people. It's as if like this white woman comes in, it's like, and expects the indigenous to serve them and work for them, you know. And that's kind of like what Whitney wants, right? She wants this artist to work for her project, her eco-friendly housing initiative, you know. She wants her to be part of that for her benefit, not really to help the community, really not really for anything beyond that, you know. It's just a faux facade of allyship that Whitney's portraying here, right? And of course that distresses her, you know. She's like, wants to get to the bottom, like, wait, what was that supposed to be? What did that mean? And was I, you know, maybe I shouldn't have eaten it? And she tells, you know, and they say like, oh, please don't share your experience, you know, with anybody. It's like a private experience, you know. Probably, you know, reflecting the idea that, you know, white people don't fully can comprehend or understand the experiences of natives, you know. Like, don't share that experience. And so this guy's like, sure, whatever. And I think, you know, this character here is just, you know, another generation, another type, you know, indigenous people are not monoliths, so of course there's gonna be different types of people. You know, this other artist is another artist, right? Like, everyone, you know, has their own viewpoint, and so when he goes in, he kind of just sees this as kind of silly, like, okay, is that it? You know, he doesn't eat the turkey. She still screams, you know, because it doesn't quite matter what the contemporary indigenous do right now, right? Because there's still that history of suffering. There's still that genocidal history that they have to deal with, and that is in their history, right? That they have to. So it's like, so of course she screams still, right? But if he doesn't see it as that meaningful. He just kind of sees it as an interest, I guess, a frivolous art piece, right? It's like, okay, interesting, whatever. His tastes are different. His interests are different. She tries to get some info on what Asher experienced, right? Tell me what she said. Did she tell you not to? Did she ask you why you ate the turkey? And he's playing along. He's like, nope, I can't tell you. That's part of the art piece, which annoys her, of course. And the funny thing is, we never get to see Asher's visit to the art piece, right? You never get to see his experience. Makes sense, right? Part of the point of that scene there. And then we get Whitney Whitney trying to get in on this friend group here, right? Obviously she's not part of it. Obviously they don't, you know, this artist doesn't see her as an equal in that sense, you know. She's just a poser, you know, trying to get some ally points here. But, you know, so it's a interesting, you know, scene of awkward socialization of these these awkward social moments we try to have. Like some, a lot of people, I'm sure you've experienced moments where like maybe you're at a party or something, you were trying to like, be friendly or be part of a conversation, but you felt a little bit left out. So maybe it's a little bit reversal here this time. The white woman feels left out here, doesn't quite feel in. She's the other now, huh? How does that feel, huh? How does that feel? And if it goes to show. I guess the point is like, hey, she's gonna try her hardest. This Whitney to try to be a good ally, but everyone can see right through her. She's not really authentic, But we're back to the family drama here. Turns out they've been trying for a while, and quite revealing moment here. She reveals that she's had some abortions in the past, and of course, excuse me. They're like, they're liberal people, so like this is not really an issue of like, oh, she's bad for having abortions, but more the fact that like I think Asher's character here is like, oh wait, she's keeping a lot of information from me. Like I didn't know she had so many abortions. Maybe he knew she had one or two or something, but she didn't really quite go out and list them all. So he's like wondering, okay, how many times has this happened? Who in her who has she been with that, so he's definitely concerned about that. Of course, it is her own personal experience. She doesn't necessarily need to tell him exactly everything about it, but as a character, as we've seen before, who's compensating for his small dick, who wants to prove himself to be a worthy man in this world, is a bit threatening by the idea like, hey, why didn't you tell me about this, and like, what else do I have to worry about, but also he's like, I guess he shows that, hey, I wanna be part of your life completely in a way, right? Maybe he's like, hey, like you can tell me anything, and so maybe Whitney will open up a little more. Huh? Of course, he hasn't opened up completely himself. He lied about giving that money back to that little girl who cursed him. He's got some secrets too. So it's not quite, they're not quite playing on an even field, are they? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, is this whole sequence part of the curse too? The idea that they can't have a baby, they're gonna have to try again. I think she said 6 weeks, and then like Whitney's like, oh, we've gone longer, so another clue of like, hey, like, yeah, they don't have sex often, and when they do, it's because they're trying to have a baby. So, but the idea of like her not being able to conceive, like, is that part of the curse? Are they going to be acknowledging that? Is she going to be like, find out later that he didn't give the money? Maybe like the little girl in the family is going to show up later and being like, hey, it's you, the guy who stole my money, who stole my $10 that he gave me. And then when he's like going to be like, wait, what? And then she's going to be like, the curse is still on us. We have to lift the curse, because probably next week there's going to be something else is going to go wrong, but at least Asher's feeling good in this episode, right? He successfully got that file off the computer, right? His heist was successful. So he's probably feeling a little better. Of course, it ended with the miscarriage thing there, or I think it was she called it an ectopic pregnancy or whatever. so they have to remove it. Another example of like why reproductive rights are really important, folks. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it's headed. I'm definitely enjoying the show. It's one of those awkward shows, but it's well done. It is a scathing critique on liberal faux wokeness, and you know, yeah, it's from the minds of Fielder and Safdie, two white dudes. But I do appreciate how they're like kind of investigating and looking within, kind of like poking fun at themselves too. It's not just that they're not coming out on top like, oh, I know it all, and it's good to see some indigenous actors here. But of course it would be nice to maybe have some episodes not focused on Whitney and Ash's character so much. Maybe have a couple episodes on the other characters, on the victims here, or the people who, the indigenous local community. That'd be kind of interesting to see. Would be cool. But it is the Fielder and Safdie show with Emma Stone as the executive producer too. Interesting. But yeah, it's unlike the kind of shows we typically see, So I'm all for it. We got, I think, 8 more episodes left. It's gonna go on till next year, I think so. We still got that left. I think I will probably check back week to week. If not, I'll do maybe like every other week. I'll do 2 episodes, just to go through it and think about it, analyze it. I'm sure each episode will have some wild scene to go over, right? But yeah, that'll do it for now. That's the curse.